土は土に、灰は灰に、塵は塵に、幻は幻に、そして夢は夢に。夢とは寄せては返す波間の真砂に描くもの。それは波が寄せるたびに真っ白に戻ってしまう儚きものだから、心なき人はそれを描くことを無駄なことだと嘲笑うだろう。しかしもう彼女の描いた夢を消す波は二度と訪れない。彼女が最後に描いた美しき夢はもう永遠に消えることはない。さあさあ、思い浮かべてごらんなさい。それは暖かき春の日の柔らかき午後の日差しがそのまま陰ることを忘れたかのよう。それはとてもとても素敵なことなのだから。あなたの最後の夢の立ち会い人、プブリウス・ワルギリア・マロ。
The suspects were gathered in a room, and several inquisitors were reporting on the results of their investigation. Oh? Their uniforms closely resembled those of Eisern Jungfrau, but they were slightly different. Also, different were the badges signifying their department. Oh? We are going with a different department for this? What is going on here? Then came the sound of someone clapping their hands once. It was the lead female inquisitor. Oh, it was her signal that all reasoning had been completed.
近景以上にて命名白白。以上の推理からあなたのアリバイが存在しないことの証明を終えるものなり。
At the other end of her pointing finger was a quivering maid with frightened eyes. Her name was... no, that wasn't important. All that mattered now was that she could have freely entered the locked room study where the victim was found. And furthermore, that it had been proven that her claimed alibi for the entire time of the crime was contradictory. Shaking, the maid tried to continue her illogical pleading, but all her arguments had already been destroyed. Hey, what is this? Are we talking about the maids that we know, or who knows? Maybe it is the maid from or the servant from 19 years ago that fell off the cliff. Who knows?
以上にてフーダニット、ハウダニットの証明を完了するものなり。あなたが犯人である事実は揺るがぬものと知りたまえ。
そんな。どうして私が敬愛する旦那様を殺さねばならないのですか？動機がありません。理由がありません。
誰がいかにして犯したか、それのみが立証できれば十分であると知りたまえ。近景謹んで申し上げる。ミステリーに動機は不要であると知りたまえ。
Yeah, right. The Inquisitor spoke coldly. After finishing her witch's prayer, Virginia stepped back from the casket, which lay on an altar bedecked with many beautiful roses. In her place, Valor moved to the front of the casket, wearing his territorial lord's cape. Valor? Virginia? Alright, what is going on over here is... Why do I hear this conversation? Like, what is that conversation about? Is it part of some past that I'm not aware of? For the cape, though the cape was supposed to represent dignity and majesty, it somehow made Better look smaller. Better held a book with a majestic binding in his hand. It was a game record that had just been written. Or perhaps it was a tale, a game, or else a fragment. Written in it was the dream that would be more enjoyable for her than any other. Bella pressed it against his forehead and contemplated for some time. And then he kissed it and laid it gently in the casket. It was placed upon her chest. It made her look like a little girl clutching her favorite stuffed animal as she drifted off to sleep.
これは俺からお前に捧げる唯一の物語だ。
This tale will be shut with you in your casket for all eternity. So no one will be able to read it except for you in your casket. Okay, well, that's lovely. That is totally something.
猫箱に閉ざされた唯一不変不可侵の永遠の物語。
Totally unchangeable, inviolable, and eternal, as long as nobody interferes with it, that is, hopefully.
だから誰にも物語を汚せない。否定できない。反論できない。俺とこいつだけの二人だけの唯一絶対の真実。クソ誰が。
Oh, okay. A man dashed through a town wrapped in twilight. The daytime hustle and bustle of this charming old-fashioned village, which combined tradition with stylistic beauty in the classic style of the last century, now seemed like a mere dream. The orange setting sun was already hidden behind the clock tower, and the narrow alleyways were rapidly descending into darkness. As the gaslights began to turn on, he only made the darkness of the twilight stand out all the more. The man sprinted. There was no time. He had to hurry. He'd had several experiments to do and things he had to check, and had all taken longer than he expected.
ああ、確かにそうだろうな。ミステリーはフーダニットとハウダニットさえあれば十分だ。
In the mystery genre, the motive, or the why done it, is given the least precedence. The only thing needed for a murder to exist is for a culprit to commit it. No part of that requires a motive, so it's usually the most ignored element. In fact, these days, there are even some who call it a necessary element in mystery stories. Yeah, whatever.
ホワイダニットだけで犯人が決まっちまったら、そりゃミステリーじゃねえ。プロパガンダだ。だがな。だからって、動機ってやつを、心ってやつを、ないがしろにしちゃいけねえんだ。
Okay, well, at least you get it. No.
私たちは彼女の最後の眠りがどれほど楽しいものであるかを知っています。
Yeah, I apologize, guys. Like, I know this is a very serious moment, but apparently I'm having some weird flashbacks of some World War of Witches, like, years ago. Witches World War 3, I think it was. I don't remember.
だから何人たりとも彼女の眠りを妨げることはできないでしょう。楽しい夢に微笑むこの眠りを妨げられるものなどいるわけもないのですから。さあ、私たちはもう立ち去りましょう。
Alrighty then. Sleep peacefully, Beatrice.
私たちが賑やかにしていたら彼女の夢を眠りを覚ましてしまいますよ。
そうだな。 寝ている子には毛布をかけて、部屋を暗くして静かに立ち去るのが決まりってもんだ。
After looking at the casket one last time, Virginia turned around quietly. Mallory did the same, but he then stopped and turned to face the rose-covered altar. Mallory said his final words with his heart. As long as those words didn't leave his mouth, no one would ever know what they were. However, those words of the heart caused Balor's expression to change several times. At first, he frowned sadly, and then his face clouded with remorse, and then changed to a resigned, bittersweet smile. He flashed through several varied expressions. Then, the final expression that crossed his face was, surprisingly, a gentle smile. Something rose to Balor's lips. However, he bit it back down. There could certainly be no words to express the many feelings he kept in his chest. So, saying anything aloud would probably be crude. Balor understood this and stopped himself from speaking once more with a resigned smile.
ありがとう。
お礼を言われるようなことは何も。
あとを頼む。
After seeing Virginia nod back at him, Balor turned away from the altar one more time and left the chapel. Alrighty then, Virginia also disappeared, and all disturbances might have interrupted her blissful sleep were gone. Oh, I'm hearing it again. It's happening. Okay. Now we're back here. The Inquisitors listen with calm, no, scornful gazes. They listen to the frantic babbling of the maid accused of murdering her master. However, nothing she said could bury the fault in her own alibi. They were all mere emotional arguments. I loved and respected my master so much. I had no motive for killing him. No matter how much she spoke, it only made her look more and more like the floundering true culprit struggling pathetically. The whodunit and howdunit had been satisfied. As for the whydunit, the motive, the heart, who would care? No matter how much she spoke of her gratitude for her master, who had graciously fed her and given her a job when she had been left to starve on the streets after various misfortunes. That didn't help her case in the slightest in the mystery genre. Therefore, her motive didn't matter. All that could just be squeezed out of the culprit afterwards. An Inquisitor took out a roll of parchment and held it forth, cutting off the maid's sobs and protests.
あなたがいかにして犯行に及んだか。その告発は大法院にて受理され、あなたの逮捕を許可したことを知りたまえ。これがあなたの逮捕状なり。動機など不要。犯人の特定には一切不要のものと知りたまえ。その上で謹んで申し上げる。我らが SSVD は罪を認めぬ犯罪者に真実を告白させる強制的手段を持つと知りたまえ。我らが異端審問官が正義にて祝福された審問具にてあなたの獅子を絞り上げて焼いて潰して引き伸ばして吊るし上げ、そこより赤き真実を絞り出してみせることを申し上げたてまつる。自白すらも不要。補佐官一同、そのメイドを逮捕したてまつれ。
私じゃないです。私は旦那様を殺したりなんかしません。
Oh.
やめな。そのメイドは犯人じゃねえ。
Oh my. Who are you? A man kicked the door open, and the inquisitors were all shocked at the sight of him.
なぜあなたがここにいるものなり。この事件はもうあなたの担当ではないと知りたまえ。
うるせえ。アリバイがないやつを一人見つけたらそいつが犯人なのか。犯行には動機が、心がいらねえってのか。犯行はな、人が犯すんだよ。心がねえ事件なんて存在しねえ。心を無視した推理なんざ俺は絶対に認めね
え。あなたのホワイダニット至上主義の主張には辟易するものと知りたまえ。
Alright. He just entered the scene and I'm already liking this guy. Like, who the hell is he?
ホワイダニットなど無用。審問すればかようなものを容易に絞り出せるものなり。大法院もその女が犯人であることを認めたものなり。
大法院はそのメイド以外の全員にアリバイがあるならきっとそうなんだろうというお前の独りよがりを鵜呑みにしただけだ。
Guilty till proven innocent, eh? What a load of crock.
他の被疑者のアリバイが崩れれば白紙に戻る。他の連中のアリバイも無様なもんじゃないか。大広間の時計の音は正確に正午を刻んだか。勝手口の犬は全員に吠えるのか。確かにお前はメイドのアリバイの偽証を崩した。それは見事なもんさ。だがそれで終わりなのか。メイドに犯行が可能でもそれを行う動機はあるのか。他の人間のアリバイは完璧なのか。
Yeah, I mean, sorry to intrude right over here, but it's not like I heard the whole context for this entire mystery that we're having over here. Like, what other parties are involved? Did they have like perfect alibis? If there are other people who didn't have alibis, then that is also a question that needs to be answered.
他にもアリバイを偽証している人間がいる。それを探すことを怠るな。犠牲者に怨恨は、金銭関係でトラブルは、動機を捨てるな。心を捨てるな。動機なんて後付けでどうでもいいなんて、そんな乾ききったミステリーごっこは卒業しちまいな。
メイドが犯人でないなら、なぜに彼女はアリバイを偽証するものなりや。そしてそれを問うことも茶番。審問し赤き真実を絞り出し、犯行時刻の全てを赤き地で署名させるだけで良いものと知りたまえ。
ああ、そうだろうな。お得意の拷問で全てを神の目線から客観的に赤裸々に絞り出せばいいさ。でもな、言っておく。心のねえミステリーと推理のやり方はな、俺が
すでに本事件は本館に継承されたるものなり、ここに命令書もあるものなり。さあ補佐官一同、構うことはなしと知りたまえ。そのメイドの逮捕を命じるものなりや。
She gave this order. Her subordinates hesitated, looking back and forth between their superior and that man.
させねえ。本当の犯人は他にいる。動機から推理可能だ。アリバイトリックなんざ古典通り。心を忘れるんじゃねえ。
心など不要なり。犯行可能な疑わしき人物を導き出し、審問して赤き真実を絞り出せばいい。万一犯人でなかったなら、別の疑わしい容疑者を審問にかければいいだけなりや。
そんなのは推理じゃね
退きたまえ。その女を逮捕するものなりや。そのメイドが犯人であると知りたまえ。
And talk about quite the unprofessionalism right over here.
使用人が犯人であることを禁ず。
Yeah, simple as that, I guess. The words of power blasted away the aides who were trying to arrest the maid.
バンダイン20足第11足
Oh! Van Dyne!
このメイドを拷問したかったら第二夫人とその愛人のアリバイをもう一度洗いな。
I knew that Van Dyne would be used as well, eventually.
その二人には犯行時刻の明白なアリバイが。
あの程度でアリバイかよ。ボンクラのお前に分かるように説明してたら時間がいくらあっても足りねえや。めんどくせえ。主席を名乗りたかったらその程度の捜査と推理を見せてみな。それまでこのメイドへの逮捕状は俺が預かるぞ。
ならあなたにそのメイドが犯行を犯さなかったことが証明できるなりや。犯行時刻に彼女が台所を離れていたことは明らかと知りたまえ。彼女は犯行時刻にどこで何を。その女にも本官にもあなたにも誰になればこそ審問の拷問具で赤き真実を絞り出すほかなきなり。
Like, you have no choice but to use these torture devices. It sounds like you're kind of giving up on the reasoning and such, in my eyes. That you're going down the easy route. But in order to solve a mystery the right way, it is better to go the highway.
真犯人からはシヘドでも真実でも好きなだけ絞り出してやれ。
I mean, yeah. Never stop thinking.
だがな、真犯人じゃねえ人間はいかなる審問も拷問も許さね
だからこそあなたは甘いと批判されるものなり。疑わしきは全て審問。それが我ら異端審問官の魔女裁判であると知りたまえ。
え。そうだな、俺たちは異端審問官だ。邪悪な魔女を撃つ、それが商売さ。
So he is an inquisitor as well.
だが万一にも市民を傷つけてはならない。疑ってはならない。人間は誰しも自分だけの真実を持つ。それは罪を犯した時にのみ暴かれる。俺たちにはそれを暴く資格が与えられている。だがな、ねえんだよ。
何が。
罪なき人間の罪なき真実を暴く資格なんざ、たとえ神様にだって与えられちゃいねえんだよ。
Yeah. The maid finally realized that he was trying to protect her.
どちら様か存じませんが、ありがとうございます。私本当に犯人じゃないんです。
Okay, this just came to me right now. What if we're talking about Kinzo and Kuwadori and Beatrice right over here? I mean, my god. that would be quite a revelation right over here. Let's see.
んなことは知ってる。お前の彼氏は全てを投げ出してお前のためにアリバイを証言するとよ。感謝しとけ。あの若造は名誉も肩書きもお前に比べたら大したもんじゃねえと言いやがったぜ。
そんなことをしたらあの人は。
それには及ばねえ。恋人たちの秘め事を暴くのは三流雑誌の仕事だ。ミステリーじゃねえ。俺は心のない推理は絶対に許さねえ。
Then, for the first time, the man's sullen expression relaxed, and he patted the maid's head unreservedly.
きっと彼氏と幸せになりやがれ。だが勤務中に相引きするのはあまり褒められねえな。時々にしとくんだね。
ありがとうございます。ありがとうございます。
These words were heard only by the two of them. The man had learned of her innocence, which could only be proven by exposing the secrets of a pair of young lovers. And he had rushed about in search of a solution, resentful of the arrogance of those trying to expose this by forcible means.
推理はな、 犯人を作ることでも、その過程で罪なき人々の心の真実を踏みにじることでもね。心が大事なんだ。探偵気取るなら心を忘れるんじゃねえ。そいつを忘れたら俺たちはただの知的蹂躙者だ。
で、
それを忘れるな。
The Inquisitors couldn't argue back any longer after the man's forceful words. The man's name was Will. Will. But everyone used to call him by a different title. Chief Inquisitor in SSVD, the 8th District Repentance or Enforcement Agency of the Great Court of Heaven. Wizard Hunting Wright. Wright?
これがお前らへの最後の引き継ぎだ。
Willard H. Wright. Does that sound familiar? I mean, I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, Delanor is Nox's daughter and such. I won't be surprised if Willard H. Wright was somebody that I know.
魔術師狩りのライトの名を継ぐなら忘れるな。
Yeah, apparently we're getting some new lore for the Eisenjungfrau here. Interesting.
絶対だ。
The murder of Beatrice. Oh my. Quietly, the rain fell down. The rain of sadness dripped down the outer walls of the chapel, quietly washing away the dust of the world of the living. Okay, I do have some stuff to talk about for sure, but I don't know if right now is the best of times. I think that something is gonna happen here, so I'm gonna see about it after. Let's see what's happening here. The chapel doors were open. For the wedding, only those with invitations would be allowed in. However, for the funeral, the doors would be open for all those who remember the deceased. So, this must be a funeral. A figure holding an umbrella approached the chapel. It was Will. A reception desk had been set up in the entrance to a chapel. As the figure approached, Kanon, who had been sitting at his desk, stood up and welcomed him with a bow. Hey there, Kanon.
こちらが受付でございます。弔問の皆様にはご褒美を賜っております。ご記帳をお願いいたします。
悪いな。弔問じゃねえ。待ち合わせだ。
You came to a funeral to meet someone? A dubious expression rose to Kanon's face. Will pulled an envelope from his pocket and showed him the sender's name.
失礼いたしました。どうぞお入りを。
すまねえな。
Well, we know that Will is an inquisitor as well. I wonder if he's here for business or something? Let's see.
せめてそいつをもらえるか。
ありがとうございます。きっとお喜びになられると思います。
Kanon handed him one of the golden roses being handed out to all the mourners. Will took it, silently bowed his head, and entered the chapel. Inside the chapel, several people who appeared to be the family of the deceased were gathered together, and they all seemed to be recalling memories of the departed.
Beatrice! なぜに
お父様、どうかしっかり。控え室の方で少し休みましょう。私が殺したのよ。私が。
とんでもない。どうしてローザ様が殺したことになりましょ
う。お父さん、すごい泣きよね。
ベアトリーチェか。
絶対お母様が亡くなった時より泣いてるわ。
Okay, now this is this is weird now. I wasn't really surprised with how we seen Bella and Virgilia mourn the deceased battle before. It wasn't really something surprising to me. In fact, it was something that I was expecting it to happen as a form of finality / apology to the events of last time. Like, you know, Balor was the game master, wanted to show that, hey, he understood things and wanted to apologize to Beatrice. And, well, the funeral would actually be part of it as well, that Balor wanted to do for Beatrice, since, well, the tragedy already happened. This is... it is interesting, like, what is going on here? Like, everybody in the family is mourning Beatrice. And it seems to be present time, too.
こら、今はそんなこと言うときちゃうで。
Some sobbed, unable to conceal their tears, and some spoke softly of old memories. They were all remembering the departed in their own ways, it seemed. When Will approached the altar, several people turned around. Of course, none of them knew who Will was. Paying this no mind, Will walked in front of the casket on the altar, which seemed to be buried in golden roses. Inside the casket, there was no corpse. Instead, as though it lay there in place of a body, there was a single thick book with an extravagant binding. And the space all around it was filled with countless golden roses. And there were words printed on the book's cover. To my beloved Beatrice, October 5th, 1986.
ミス・ベアトリーチェ。ミセスだったら許しな。会ったことはねえ。だが、お悔やみ申し上げるぜ。
He took the rose he had received from the reception area and placed it in the casket. He had absolutely no connection with the woman called Beatrice. However, since he had come to visit the funeral home, he had to follow this minimum display of respect for the dead. As part of this, Will prayed for the passage of the departed to the next road.
失礼だが、どちら様かな？私は後宮クラウス。
Yeah. Say hello to the newest fighter in the roster for episode 7. Willard H. Wright.
喪主の代行です。こっちは子供のリオン。
Wait. Leon?
はじめまして。
Child? Who the hell are you?
後宮リオンです。
リオン？誰だお前。
理科の理に魚するの魚でリオンと読みます。ちょっと日本人っぽくない名前ですよね。
Okay, now I'm confused as hell. What the fuck is going on here? Where am I? What time? Did I just jump timelines like so much? Everything is different now? Well, I guess I wouldn't be surprised. Maybe Kraus did the boingy boingy with somebody else, and now we have a completely different daughter slash. Leon. Yeah, I'm gonna say that you are a daughter. Okay, I'm having some gender questioning right over here. A little bit. I apologize. But yeah, I guess Kraus now has like a completely different daughter right over here. Will stared at Leon's face, wearing a confused expression. He hadn't seemed to be particularly interested in Kraus, but apparently Leon had drawn some sort of reaction from him. Rather than interest, it was more as though he felt like something was out of place.
旦那様、奥様がそろそろと。そうか。一同の諸君。ここで賑やかにしては、個人もうるさがるだろう。控室の準備が整ったそうだ。場所を変えようではないか。
When Kraus called out to everyone, they began to move towards the chapel waiting room.
すまん。リオンはしばしお客様のお相手を頼む。私はみんなを控室に案内する。
はい、父さん。
It looked like a natural conversation, with no awkwardness for either father or child.
親子なのか？
Father and child.
そうですが、何か？
後宮クラウスの子供はジェシカのはずだ。
Yeah, Will knows it too. He too has read Umineko up until this point, just like me.
ジェシカは妹です。
Sister.
お呼びする必要はありますか？
いや、ない。
Apparently, some sort of game was already being played right off the bat. Scratching at his head with an irritated look on his face, Will glanced around. So you're saying that you're also Natsuhi's daughter? Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Theory crafting. I have some juices flow in my mind right now. Uh-oh.
失礼ですが、あなた様は個人とはどのようなご関係で？
全く何もねえ。迷惑な話さ。
ではあなたはどうしてこの葬儀に？
Since Leon was a fairly mild person, Will's behavior was met with nothing more than a blank expression. A normal person would probably have put on a dubious look long before this. Will scratched his head again. He yelled angrily at someone other than Leon.
来たぜ。そろそろ顔を出しやがれ。
The members of the Ushimiya family had already followed Krause's instructions and moved to the waiting room. But now, this cold, vast chapel decorated with gold roses was empty, except for Will and Leon.
よく来たわね。
Oh, Ben Castell.
異端審問官、魔術師狩りのライト。
The girl's voice came suddenly from behind the pair. When Leon turned around in surprise, a girl had appeared out of nowhere and drifted down on top of the altar. She landed softly on the sacred funeral altar, as though this was perfectly normal, crushing the golden roses under her shoes. Of course, Leon did not know this girl. Just why on earth were all these people ready to the funeral? Popping up one after another.
俺はもう引退だ。仕事なら新しいライトに頼みな。
いいえ、あなたに頼みたいのよ。この事件を。送った物語は読んでくれたかしら。
斜め読み程度にはな。
あなたがどなたか存じませんが、そこから降りてください。そこは神聖な祭壇ですよ。
Snapping out of a daze, Leon told the girl to get down at the altar, but the girl ignored this completely. On top of that, Will kept on talking to the girl as though Leon wasn't even there.
リオンとか言ったな。こいつは何者だ？
その子が名乗った通りよ。
Ushiromiya Leon. There's no case of a person with that name appearing in any of the previous games.
お前の駒なのか？
いいえ、このゲーム版の正しく正当な駒。登場人物よ。
ゲームマスターはお前だ。なら、お前の駒だろ。
ベアとの猫箱よりもっと大きな猫箱で閉ざしただけよ。リオンはその中で生まれ得る可能性を持つ一つの駒。
そういうことか。結局お前の駒というわけだ。
私が置いた駒という意味では正しいわ。
ただしエリカのような配下の駒ではないということか。
エリカって誰？